Please introduce yourself, Iman.
Okay. This is عماالدین Aisha from Cairo, Egypt. I'm a British Palestinian Egyptian living in Egypt. I'm an academic originally and also work in journalism and translation, but one of my great loves in life is science fiction. And so I started writing in 2015 when the job market dried up. And finally, I have my first anthology, Arabic, Al-Hydra Raqamiyya, Digital Hydra, and Other Stories. I have my own academic book, Arab and Muslim Science Fiction Critical Essays. I'm co-author and co-editor, and did the translation work. And I also regularly participate in anthologies for the Egyptian Society for Science Fiction, and we're the outfit that did the Muslim and Arab science fiction book. And this is the latest anthology, The Economists. And I can guarantee it's the first anthology of its kind in the Arab world. Nobody has ever written a collection of stories about economics in the Arab world, certainly not in Egypt. Least of all the so-called realist authors, social realism authors. They forgot the value of economics and having a job and that kind of thing. Okay.
Thank you, Iman. Behzad, I think you can also introduce yourself, then I can talk.
I'm Behzad Qadimi. I have done my education in civil engineering, kind of very far from the literature. I have done a PhD in civil engineering, receiving my degree from Curtin University in Australia. However, I have been participating seriously in writing almost 2 decades now. I have been written my books and short stories. 4 of my books has been published in Farsi. All of my writing is in Farsi, basically. The books are بند دیوان، خدمات دستگاه حلیل‌آساز دمشقی، شومنامه تبر نقره‌ای و تهران تارین. So these are 4 books I have written in Farsi. However, I have been talking to few authors and co-thinker in different countries from different culture, trying to get a voice in the international literature medium.
Okay, thank you. خب آقای عماالدین آیشا در حال حاضر روزنامه‌نگار و مترجم هستند. مصری هستند، در انگلیس به دنیا اومدن و شفیلد انگلیس پی‌اچ‌دیشون در علوم اجتماعی هستش. از سال 2001 به مصر دوباره بازگشتند و از سال 2015 نوشتن سایفای رو شروع کردن. در واقع پدرشون فلسطینی هست، مادرشون مصری هست و خودشون هم توی انگلیس به دنیا اومدن. کار دانشگاهی رو توی انگلیس انجام میدادن. بعد از یه مدتی دوباره به مصر رفتن، اونجا هم مدتی استاد بودن در انگلیس و به طور مشخص 2 کتاب به زبان انگلیسی نوشتن که یکی از کتاباشون به زبان عربی مصری در واقع ترجمه شده. کتابا رو همونطور که دیدین یه کتابشون به اسم هایدر بودش که یه مجموعه داستان هستش که نوشتن و یه کتاب دیگه شون هم که یک مجموعه مقالات هستش نوشتن. با انجمن سایفای مصر در واقع از اعضای انجمن ساینس فیکشن ژانر علمی تخیلی مصر هستن. یک کتاب من فکر میکنم از این انجمن در واقع بیرون اومده به اسم اقتصادیون که به گفته خودشون یکی از منحصر به کتاب ترین ها هستش در این حوزه و در حال حاضر هم روزنامه نگار هستن در مصر و تو همین حوزه به صورت تخصصی فعالیت میکنن. آقای قدیمی هم از نویسندگان ایرانی 4 کتاب در حوزه فانتزی تا به حال نوشتن. حالا فکر کنم متفاوت باشه توی ژانر وحشت و در واقع خود فانتزی. کتاب‌های تهران تارین، بند دیوان، شومنامه تبر نقره‌ای و خدمات دستگاه حلیل‌آسازی دمشقی از دانشگاه تین استرالیا پیشتیشون در زمینه عمران گرفتن که خودشون فکر میکنن که خیلی دور هستش در واقع از فضای ادبیات این رشته‌ای که خوندن. سال‌هاست تو این زمینه دارن می‌نویسن و خیلی دوست دارن ارتباطات بین‌المللی تو این زمینه از این طریق پیدا کنن و در واقع فانتزی، فکر می‌کنم سایفای فانتزی ایران و جهان عرب رو این دو نویسنده دوست دارن که به صورت بین‌المللی در سطح جهان باش در ارتباط باشن. Okay, thank you. So, something you'd like to add, Emma, about yourself or no?
I want to get to know fellow science fiction writers all over the Arab and Muslim world, which is why I'm here.
Okay. خب خیلی دوست دارم بیشتر با نویسنده های ژانر علمی تخیلی آشنا بشم، به خاطر همین این ارتباط رو دوست دارم توی جهان عرب و اسلام در واقع از طریق های مختلف همین مثل وبینار گسترش بدن. And how about you, Behzad? Is it something you like to add to your description?
Not at the moment. No, okay. I believe that we can move on. Yeah.
Okay. So can I ask you as a second question to tell us your idea about translation of the book in the Arab and Middle Eastern world in this genre, Emma?
It's a problematic, I mean, there's the translation side of it, the technical problems that come with translation, but those could be sorted out. And then there's just the publishing industry and getting recognized and finding distributors and finding people willing to pay you proper money. The translation market for Arabic science fiction, at least, international market, is skewed. It's very political. They're concerned with certain things. Since the Arab Spring, the only thing they've been concerned with is dystopia. And the irony is the novel that got the attention for dystopia, the famous Ahmed Khalid Tawfiq novel, Utopia, was actually written before the Arabic Spring. It has nothing to do with it. But since it got translated and almost got a Booker Prize, and I think got the best prize for translation, you've had a stream of translations of dystopian novels from Egypt, of Al-Tari, then you have The Queue, which are excellent novels, incidentally. But two bad consequences from that. One is all the other genres and subgenres have been ignored. We have First Contact, we have Alien Invasion, we have cyberpunk, we have things to do with robotics, we have steampunk, we have our own brand of cyberpunk and our own brand of steampunk popping up now. We have things to do with parallel dimensions. We have a very unique subgenre, which is, you could say, Sufi speculative fiction, science fiction and speculative fiction. Some really good experiments have been happening recently. And all of that is completely ignored, completely unrecognized. It happens under the radar. And even when you look at dystopia, the cross-section they get is not necessarily representative of what's being written out there. I helped a friend of mine who did a dystopian novella, translated the first chapter for him, and I tried to get it published on a web page, on an online magazine that specializes in radical political literature, and for free, no money, and they just, no, we need to see the whole book. I'm not going to translate the whole book if you don't pay me. and so they just were, and they're not going to pay me to begin with. It's for free. Anyway, so eventually I wanted translated the whole novella for him. I went to a university publishing print press here in Egypt in English, and they just kept ditching us and not looking at the manuscript and not replying to emails, the person who was supposed to be in charge of the project. So I kind of just gave up on that. Also, I translated a steampunk novel for a friend, Ahmed Salah al-Mahdi, his novel Melez, City of Resurrection, and translated all for free. And we got a friend, an American friend, who specializes in translation in Arabic literature to review it and make it better and improve the translation. And she put us into contact with academic friends of hers who are friends of Arabic literature. And we couldn't get a publishing house to look at it. They couldn't get a publisher, and they're established names. And eventually my friend Ahmed published it for free online, self-publishing, Amazon, through a friend of his, Blaise Ward, in America. and hope to make some money from sales. So I mean, there's the I don't know how to say, a wall of intrascendence and short-sightedness in the West. But I think with time we can wear it down. If we in the book Arab and Muslim Science Fiction, we have a chapter there on translation, and we're going to have an extra chapter about the business of translation as well. Sadly, it fell through. I think if we can get enough critical attention in academia and book reviewing and magazine articles and interviews, that will convince the publishing industry in the West to take us seriously and start looking at the rich diversity of Arabic science fiction instead of this narrow political focus. And I can say that similar things for Iranian science fiction. Mrs. Zuha Kazemi, she has Rainborn translated into English, and very good translation in English. And it's an excellent novel, and it has everything that you'd think that the Western audience would want. I won't say what. And then nobody's looking at it. And for the life of me, I can't understand why. And it's political content is nice for Western audiences, and it's beautifully written, and it's innovative and different, and they still won't look at it. I mean, Iraj Fazil Bakshisha, he puts his own stories translated into English on his own Facebook page. He isn't wasting his time trying to get it published abroad and thinking he can actually get paid.
Thank you, Ahmad. In fact, there are some details about your speech. I think the participants should forgive me if I cannot mention all the details, and I am sure their English is good enough maybe to remember some parts of that. But if I want to be faithful to what you say, I can say that. خب دوستان، آقای عماد در واقع به دو تا مورد اشاره کردن که توی مارکتینگ در واقع ترنسلیشن اصلا وجود داره و توی این ترنسلیشن دنیای اسلام و عرب در واقع توی این ژانر علمی تخیلی مشکل ساز هستش. که همون دیدگاه سیاسی رو گفتن و گفتن که در واقع انگار که غرب نمیخواد اصلا این ژانر ورود کنه از طرف جهان اسلام و خاورمیانه به کشورهای دیگه و به صورت استثناء اون چیزی رو که چه بسا در واقع از این جهان میخوان به اونا منتقل بشه چیزی هست که همون در واقع دیستوپیا میگیم، همون ویران شهر بهش میگیم. شاید در واقع اون تصویر رو دوست دارن توی این داستانهای ما ببینن و از تلاش‌هایی گفتن که خودشون در واقع اون تلاش‌ها رو داشتن با دوستانی. یکی از دوستاشون آقای احمد صلاح رمانش رو یک چپترش رو ترجمه کردن توی یه سایت خارجی در واقع ارائه دادن و اون سایت با وصف این که فقط داستان کوتاه و یه سری گزیده‌ها رو چاپ می‌کرد ازشون خواستن که کل رمان رو بذارن و اینها قبول نکردن چون که قرار نبوده که هزینه بهشون پرداخت کنن. و عماد در واقع میگه که در قبال هیچ هزینه‌ای می‌خواستن که حالا مثلا ما رمان هم در واقع چاپ کنیم براشون و در واقع یه بخش از این دشواری تکنیکال رو میگن و یه بخش از اون فضایی که اصولاً ساینس فیکشن از این طرف نمیتونه به اون بر ترجمه بشه چون بازاری نداره و در واقع مخاطبی نمیتونه براش وجود داشته باشه. همینطور به این اتفاق توی ایران هم اشاره کردن. البته گفتن اتفاقات نادری شده در واقع توی ترجمه ما. خانم زوها کاظمی کتاب بارانزادشون که خیلی اثر ارزشمندی هست ترجمه شده و این در واقع جزء اتفاقات خوبی بوده که از این ور اتفاق افتاده. و حالا یه نکته دیگه هم، یه مورد دیگه هم که اشاره میکنن این که زبان در واقع توی آثار ساینس فیکشن شاید یک اتفاقی هستش که دشواره، چون اگر ما بخوایم از در واقع این جهان عرب و اسلام و خاورمیانه به اونور منتقل کنیم اصطلاحاتی و فرهنگی وجود داره که ما شاید به صورت پانوشت بتونیم برای مخاطب بنویسیم، ولی به هر حال طوری باید باشه که مخاطب نویسنده ارتباط برقرار کنه، چون اون چیزی که از ژانر علمی تخیلی مخاطب میدونه همون چیزی هستش که در ژانر علمی تخیلی جهان غرب میشناسه و این نیاز به شناخته شدن بیشتری داره. Okay, so Behzad, how about you? Can I ask you to tell us your ideas?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to not repeat them out, but there are lots of ground that we have overlap, so I'm not going to repeat those ideas. Some stuff that might be specific to Farsi fiction being translated to English specifically. I believe that although Emad stated that there isn't that much technicality problem in translation, at least my experience in translating Farsi fiction to English, we have some technical problems. So there are not that many translators that are knowledgeable enough and skillful enough to translate from Farsi in a good English to English. There are few translators. I have been working with them, very valuable people. However, there are not as many as it should be. And so that would be part of problem. So finding a good translator that can translate Farsi to English is one of the problems. The other thing that might be a general problem, not just in the translation, is marketing these science fiction. And I would talk about a bigger umbrella as a speculative fiction, which covers science fiction, horror fiction, and fantasy fiction, and some weird fiction as well. So marketing of this fiction would be, I believe that that's an elephant in the room that we need to talk about it. It is not that the story should be good. I believe that the story written in Farsi, some of them are really fabulous and groundbreaking. The idea are very novel. I have read some of them that are actually excite me, moved me very much, and I'm reading a lot of stories, Nebula winner short stories, and so on. I have been in this field actively reading and following up what's happening in the fiction. So there are good quality stories written in Farsi, at least I can say. However, the marketing is not there. I believe it is not even marketing of the translation, which is much worse. Even marketing in original language, in Farsi language, is not there. So we lack the marketing industry. There is a serious need for marketing industry, including agent, advertisement, audience. We don't have that as a professional industry in Iran, and that would definitely damage the sale and popularity of the fiction. And when you want to introduce the story written in Farsi coming from Iran to the whole world, the first thing that would hit you is that you don't even have the marketing in your country. I would compare it with Japan or China, which they have the same kind of problem in translation and technicality of translation, but they have a good support from the marketing industry already established in their country. However, at least my experience in Iran was that we don't have that much professional industry of marketing books. So that would be, to me, it is one of the major obstacles in the way of getting Farsi fiction translated and also accepted in the whole English world. There are other stuff that I want to mention as well. One of them is that lack of self-confidence.
تکرار نکنیم و هرچند که مد نظر من هم بوده بهتره که به نکات دیگه بپردازن. نظرشون یکی از مشکلاتی که ما توی ایران داریم در مورد همون ترجمه خوب هستش از فارسی به انگلیسی، با وجود اینکه چند مترجم خیلی در واقع با کیفیت رو میشناسن و باهاشون کار کردن، ولی باز هم هستش دامنه مترجمینی که به درستی بتونن در واقع از فارسی متن‌های فارسی رو به انگلیسی برگردونن و این یه مشکل کلی هستش. خودشون در واقع توی ژانر زن بخش‌های مختلف رو امتحان کردن یا باش دست و پنجه نرم کردن، در واقع همون اسپیکولتیو فیکشن رو که فکر کنم به ژانر رمان زن ترجمه کردن، ولی با این وصف فکر میکنن که یکی از مهمترین ما در واقع تو این قضیه صد راهمون برای مارکت جهانی راه پیدا کردن به مارکت جهانی هستش همون کیفیت ترجمهش. هرچند که به صورت مکرر اشاره کردن که ما داستان‌های خیلی خوبی در ایران داریم که تو این ژانر چاپ شده، خیلی ایده‌های نو و در واقع بسیار با کیفیتی هستش و اصلا داستان‌هایی هستش که میتونه در سطح بین‌الملل باشه، ولی متاسفانه به دلیل همون مسئله ترجمه شاید از این قضیه محروم موندیم. مسئله دوم این هستش که اصولا این ژانر در کشور خودمون مارکت خوبی نه، به تبلیغات، به لحاظ مخاطب، به لحاظ نشرهایی که در این زمینه همکاری میکنن ما دچار کمبود هستیم و خلل داریم در این زمینه. بعد مقایسه کردن با کشورهای مثل ژاپن و چین که گفتن که خب در کشورهای مثل ژاپن و چین در واقع این همین مارکت خودشون به صورت در اومده و مسلما خب راه براشون بازتر میشه و اینها. یه نکته عماد من به خاطر آوردم توی صحبتشون این بودش که گفتن که در واقع توی جهان غرب اون چیزی که از فانتزی از ما انتظار دارن همون در دیستوپیا یا ویران شهر هستش، در صورتی که ما حتی توی داریم که توی سایت می‌نویسن استریم پانک می‌نویسن. حالا من قدیمی بتونم بعدا من کمک کنم که آیا این ترجمه شده به فارسی سایبر پانک یا استیم پانک، چون فکر می‌کنم که راجع به در واقع وجود ربات‌ها و تکنولوژی‌های آینده باشه در فیکشن. این هم در واقع یه پرانتزی از صحبت قبل آقای عماد مونده بود. خب اوکی بهزاد، I think you can continue.
I want to also add to a specific problem. I don't know, Emad, if you have some similar situation, please add to this. But we have a specific situation in Iran, which we should address somehow. We have a highly censorship enforced from government to the stories that are published, and that would basically encompass every aspect of writing. A writer should think about this before even thinking about the story, that if the story can be published according to the censorship and the criteria that government enforce, and that would definitely reduce the innovation and creativity in the whole stream of thinking and stream of writing. The other thing is the sanctions upon Iran, which would really introduce some serious problem, specifically if you want to get some payment from any foreign agency. So assume that you want to publish your story in an English journal and they want to pay you. They have sanction problem. They cannot transfer money easily. And these two basically would reduce the interest of foreign publisher in your story or in the story coming from the Iranian writer. So these two, although it is not coming from anything from writer or from market, this is a important contributor which is contributing negatively in getting your story from Farsi to English published easily and get market. So I believe these two should be also addressed. And Emad, I don't know if you have similar problem or not, but I would love to see if you have any kind of thing.
Excuse me, Emad, please give time so that I can say what Behzad said, then I come to you, okay?
Okay.
خب آقای قدیمی در واقع به دو مشکل اساسی دیگه اشاره کردن که شاید باعث بشه در واقع بازار این ژانر علمی تخیلی ضعیف عمل کرده باشه. یکی همون مسئله سانسور رو در کشور ایران گفتن که حتی نویسنده پیش از این که بخواد کتاب رو چاپ کنه اصلا داستان رو بنویسه این سانسور در واقع تو ذهنش وجود داره و چه بسا مانع اون نوآوری و خلاقیتش برای نوشتن داستان میشه. و نکته دومی هم که اشاره کرد تحریم‌هایی بودش که ایران داره و از لحاظ مالی حتی در واقع انتشارات‌ها و این ایجنسی‌های خارجی از همکاری نیستن به خاطر همون ترانسفر پول و اقدامات اینجوری که باید انجام بدن. با این محدودیت‌ها خیلی غیر ممکن میکنه و محدودیت هستش. و از آقای ما پرسیدن که حالا ببینیم توی کشور مصر چه خبر هست. Okay.
On the marketing side, we have the exact same problems, if not worse. You have to self-find to get published. You have to advertise the thing yourself, and the only real way you can do it is to go to the Cairo International Book Fair. We don't have literary agents. We don't have the editing and proofreading. You have to do most of that yourself. You have to get your own artists half the time. These kind of things. So yeah, it's very unprofessional and sloppy. We have those same problems. On the censorship front, actually, I mean, Egypt does actually have a free speech law when it comes to books. You can get sued after you've already published the book, but you can actually publish the book. And a lot of authors deliberately write things that are offensive to get the book well known. They actually go, I mean, they write a book with religious offensive things, then they go to the religious ministry and hand a copy for them to get angry and condemn it. So they get well known. So we have sort of the opposite problem.
Oh, okay.
We don't have sanctions, but transferring money here in Egypt is difficult. And it's become more difficult recently.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I work with a newspaper. They stopped being able to send me stuff by Western Union. They send a friend over with an envelope with money in it to meet me here in person, and I have to wait for like several months if somebody happens to be coming to town. So yeah, the government wants a piece of the pie. They want to tax transactions and block certain. Yeah, lots of banks here have shut down foreign banks, and I mean all in one slew, and you can tell there's some sort of legal dispute going on.
اوکی. خب آقای عماد هم گفتن در واقع یه مشکلات مشابهی رو ما توی مصر داریم. کتاب‌ها رو باید توی نمایشگاه عرضه کنیم. نویسنده خودش باید کارهای ویراستاری و پروف ریدینگ رو انجام بده. در واقع پروسه کلاً غیر حرفه‌ای هستش توی مصر هم به نظرشون. ولی خب یه تفاوتایی هم داره. اما از این نظر حتی مالی در واقع خیلی از بانک‌های خارجی بسته شدن، دولت مالیات میخواد برای یه سری چیزها، یعنی خودشون یه داستانی رو گفتن که حالا اون پول در واقع از طریق پاکت نامه از دوستی دریافت کرده بودن. ولی یه نکته دیگه هم که گفتن، نویسنده‌ها میان این کارو میکنن، یعنی حتی میان یه سری از خط قرمزا رو ازش عبور میکنن، میز و اهانت‌آمیز حتی توی مذهبی و دولتی برخورد میکنن برای اینکه خودشون مطرح بشه و معروف بشه، یعنی در واقع کلی متضادی هم استفاده میکنن ازش. Okay, thank you. So, anything else that you want to add after Emad talks in this case or no?
Just have a note that I believe that's worth to mention is that I believe that as a writer, I was speculating about that. We shouldn't focus on translating stories just to English because, as Emad said, and I believe that's true, English market is really competitive and very highly polluted in political aspect. You need to have specific links and relation to get yourself published in English. However, I believe, I don't know, it is just a speculation. I didn't have any experience myself. I believe that going to other languages, French, even Mandarin, Arabic, Turkish, those languages that are not English language and not predominant as English language, there might be some interest in other languages to get published. Specifically on this talk, I believe translating from Farsi to Arabic and Arabic to Farsi is kind of easier in getting published in these two kind of, these are like sister language. They are very similar. The transcript is similar. So I believe that getting to the other languages other than English as a translation of the Farsi fiction, that might be an opportunity. I wanted to add this as a final note to the topic of translation.
خب یه نکته دیگه هم که باز آقای قدیمی بهش در واقع اشاره کردن که چاپ کردن کتاب به زبان انگلیسی شاید در واقع ارتباطات و اون لینک های خودش رو نیاز داشته باشه و خیلی بازار رقابتی سختی هستش، اما اگه به زبان های دیگه در واقع رجوع کنیم مثل فرانسه، ترکی، حتی ماندرین، شاید این شانس و فرصت بیشتر باشه، یعنی ما شاید بتونیم در واقع این ژانر رو به زبان های دیگه غیر از انگلیسی ترجمه بکنیم. از طرفی باز یه مثال خوبش میتونه در واقع همون فارسی عربی باشه که این دو تا زبان خب نزدیکی زیادی با هم دیگه دارن و شاید در واقع این هم بتونه یه فرصتی باشه که ما از زبان‌های غیر از زبان انگلیسی کمک بگیریم برای ترجمه کردن و اینجوری بتونیم وارد مارکت بشیم اگه درست کرده باشم. Okay, thank you. Very good. Emad, do you want to add something in this case?
I've been trying to help Iranian friends get published here in Egypt, and they want to get published in Arabic for the Arabic market. There's an economic problem. I found this out from an Arabic publisher, a Syrian guy here in Egypt. There's no pan-Arab publisher. There's no one publishing house that publishes in the whole Arab world. It's all segmented. A handful of publishers this country, handful of publishers that country. And because we have copyright laws, but nobody implements them, so it's nobody wants to take the risk. If you publish something, somebody can copy it. put his name on it, or he'll get all the proceeds and that kind of thing. That's a problem, and that's a problem even for us in our stuff. That being said, over the past few years in the Cairo International Book Fair, I've been noticing an increasing number of Turkish novels being translated into Arabic, and I finally came across, I think, a sci-fi anthology translated from Turkish into Arabic the previous year. So there's definitely growing interest and growing market. So I would advise that, but again, it's that legal side, that logistical side that needs to be sorted out.
Yeah.
آقای امادم با نظر آقای قدیمی موافق هستن که در واقع این علاقه‌مندی میتونه از طرف کشورهای دیگه بیشتر باشه و به یه مورد اشاره کردن که از کتاب‌های ترکی خیلی ترجمه شده در واقع به عربی و حتی یه دایره معارف خیلی خوب در این زمینه، یه مجموعه داستان خیلی خوب در این زمینه چاپ شده و در واقع I lost the first part. و خیلی از پابلیکیشن ها، خیلی از انتشاراتی ها در واقع ورشکست شدن یا به خاطر همون مشکلات قانون کپی رایت و اینها این ریسک رو حاضر نیستن بکنن، ولی خب به نظر ایشون هم این رفتن به سمت کشورهای دیگه میتونه در واقع یه مزیتی باشه. Thank you, Aman. So next question, can I ask you, what do you think will be the effect of AI in the future of the writing for this genre, in this genre?
Oh, well, I don't like AI computer. I hate computers in general. From when I was a kid, my brother got into games programming, and I didn't have anybody to play with it. So I had a game.
Excuse me, Emma. Can I ask you to speak louder?
Yes, sir. My brother got into games programming when I was a kid, and I didn't have anybody to play with. So I've hated computers from back then, and I'm very bad with machines in general. A tape recorder is my idea of sophisticated technology. I think it's, I mean, if it helps with translation or something like that, okay. But I think they're going to be using it increasingly as a substitute for people when it comes to things like translation and using it for writing in general. I mean, I'll give you an example. I was reading a novel once in the 1990s, an English guy, and every time they mentioned a particular character, they would put all of his qualifications. Dr. So-and-so has M.A., Ph.D., D.D., Professor and so-and-so, and his whole name. Every single time they mention the guy's name in the whole novel. That's not the way people talk. That's the way a computer thinks, just giving you facts. And if you read the Dune prequel novels by Brian Herbert, which are terrible and a travesty, you can tell he's using software. You keep having these repeated phrases over and over again. Again, like a computer is churning it out. So I mean, I don't I don't encourage using AI, but it's probably going to be increasingly used, and I think they'll use machine translation and algorithms to come up with imitation ideas, like they're doing in Hollywood with scripts. They don't want to use scriptwriters anymore, and don't want to pay them. And they use algorithms, and you end up with the same stories over and over again, just slight variations. That could happen in this part of the world. I hope not.
خب به نظر میاد که با یه در واقع شوخ‌طبعی اماد داره میگه که خیلی با این قضیه موافق نیست. از بچگی حتی زمانی که برادرش بازی‌های کامپیوتری میکرد خیلی با کامپیوتر ارتباط خوبی نداشت و به نظرش میرسه که مثل اون اتفاقی که توی در واقع فیلمنامه‌های هالیوود افتاده و اینا رو الگوریتماشو در واقع به اون AI میدن و هی سناریوهای تکراری تولید میشه و اینا، این اتفاق خوبی نیست، ولی میتونه مثلا توی ترجمه کمک بکنه و در واقع یه مثالهایی زدن از فکر کنم کار آقای برایان هربرت، یه مثالی زدن و اینکه در مجموع به نظرشون کامپیوتر نمیتونه، اون AI نمیتونه اون کاری رو و کارآمدی و موثری که یه نویسنده خودش انجام میده رو انجام بده، هرچند که در نهایت به نظرشون خب این روند در حال افزایش هستش و غیر قابل انکاره. How about you, بهزاد?
I believe that it is like a blade with two edges. Definitely it would help translation, specifically talking about the Farsi language or even Arabic. Arabic is more popular in the world. Arabic is talked with more population. Farsi is less than that. However, both of them are not a predominant language to speak. So having AI a compatible AI that can facilitate translation, that would be a benefit for the non-English language speaker fiction to be translated to English or other languages. So that bit is advantageous, I would say. If AI can translate it easily, so writing in Farsi, fiction in Farsi can be translated easier to the other languages. That is good. The other part of that is that using AI in writing the fiction itself, that might introduce new challenges. I have been reading about AI application in writing fictions. And there was a case, I don't remember the guy, he was a writer. I was following him in the LinkedIn, and he was describing his diary with the challenges with AI. He tried to write a chapter of his novel with the AI help. So what he did was he actually mentored the AI to write the chapter. And at the end of that, it was, I believe, a month's practice for the writer. At the end of that, AI could end up with a good chapter. As from the perspective of the author of the novel. However, the comment from the author was that it took the same amount of time that if he would write it himself. So at least at this stage, with the capacity of AI at this stage, it was not that much advantageous to write a novel. But what I would think is that what Ahmad also implied somehow, AI would definitely be capable of cliche writing and writing fictions that are quite stereotypical, like the Hollywood script of movies. So if you are thinking about a 3 scenes fiction with the same drama, with the similar suspense, those kind of cliche thing, and you want to just have a variation with a bit of hint of, you know, different monster, different technology and stuff like that. If your innovation and variation is small and not really creative, AI can definitely repeat that much better than any human. And it can produce it easier and quicker in a mass production way.
اوکی، آقای در واقع قدیمی گفتن که توی نوشتن فیکشن خب یک چالش های وجود داره، همونطوری که عماد گفتش این تکراری که میتونه AI داشته باشه و در واقع کلیشه‌ای کنه برای شاید مثلا درام هالیوودی خوب باشه، یا اینکه اگه بخواید شما یه درام 3 پرده‌ای بنویسین مثلا با AI این بهتون کمک میشه. با یه فردی در لینکدین آشنا شده بودن، یه نویسنده‌ای که خاطراتشو از نوشتن در واقع بازگو کرده بود و در واقع گفتن که در لینکدین با یه فردی آشنا شدن که از خاطراتشون برای نوشتن رمانشون گفته بودن که از AI به عنوان یه در واقع یعنی خود نویسنده منتور AI شده بود. و این نکته اینه که چالشش توی فصل آخرش بود. فکر کنم اگر اشتباه متوجه نشده باشم گفتن که فصل آخر رو انقدر طولانی کش داد و انقدر دیر نوشت که به همون اندازه که زمان می‌برد خود نویسنده اصلی بنویسه انقدر طولانی شده بود در واقع نوشتن اون فصله. ولی باز گفتن که بله AI میتونه کمک کنه اگه شما بخواید یه درام 3 پرده‌ای یا اگر بخواید ویژگی‌های ساختاری همون فیکشن رعایت کنید قطعاً میتونه کمک بکنه و این غیر قابل اجتنابه. Am I on the right path, Behzad?
Just few more points maybe. The first thing is that the author that I was talking about, it took him so long time to edit the draft that AI was generating. It was not that the first draft was taking so long, but it required so many repetition to become for the AI to write in a quality that writer would accept. So it has been maybe 7 or 8 iterations before he accepted the writing of AI, and that took so long time. I believe it was months period until the AI wrote something that author accepted it. And that was because he was rejecting it. The way that AI works basically, Araan, is that you define some criteria for the machine to write something on it. Say that I want a scene in a street with the conflict between 2 men, and the AI machine would write it. And then you would provide some feedback to the machine saying that, okay, this bit is a low language. I want it to be a bit archaic language and write it like that. And you go with that, you kind of mentor the AI until it comes, it produces something that you like it. And that's why it takes some time. So generating draft is not taking that much time from the AI, but refining the draft and mentoring the AI to produce what you want is the thing that takes time. And the other thing is that what I wanted to say, what's my point of view, is that it's not basically good to have AI, or it is not beneficial for author to use AI. Basically, what I was saying is that AI would devalue any writing that lacks from the innovation and creativity. So the new world for writers would be much more demanding for the innovation and creativity. It wouldn't be as easy as it is for the future author to write a story, because if the story doesn't have enough innovation, enough plot twists, enough new ideas, and it is just a simple variation from the already established plots or already established world building, AI can easily do that, and no one would pay you to write such a story. You need to bring your own new idea, a whole new idea with them. So many creation and creativity in many aspects of your writing. You need to produce something that AI cannot repeat it. That was my point.
و در واقع آقای قدیمی می‌خواستن به این مسئله بیشتر بپردازن که AI به خودی خود نمیتونه در واقع کارآمد و مؤثر باشه، چرا که ما اون اطلاعاتی رو که می‌خوایم به AI میدیم. مثلا میگیم یه صحنه رو می‌خوایم که دو نفر دارن با هم دیگه مبارزه میکنن، بعد AI اونو برای ما مینویسه و بعد ما دوباره باید بهش بازخورد بگیم که مثلا من الان زبان که این زبانی که تو استفاده کردی رو نمیخواستم، و در واقع تو این بازخورده هی داره تولید میشه. ولی موضوعی که وجود داره این که خب این AI میتونه کلیشه رو در بیاره و توی بازار رقابتی برای نویسنده های آینده فکر میکنن که مسلما اون خلاقیت نوآوری خیلی مهم خواهد بود، چون در این حد با این کلیشه و استریوتایپ خیلی داستانهایی رو میشه تولید کرد. اما مهم اینه که کدوم نویسنده ها میتونن خلاقانه تر و بدی‌تر اون صحنه ها رو ایجاد کنن. پس خود AI میتونه باعث یه فضای رقابتی تری بین نویسنده هایی بشه که خلاق‌تر دارن عمل میکنن. به اضافه اینکه راجع به اون موضوع اولی که اون آقای نویسنده گفته بودن، فکر می‌کنم که اشاره کردن که خب ویرایشش در واقع خیلی زمان مرد و ماها طول کشید. اون چیز کلی رو AI میده، ولی نکته اینه که هی اون باید ادیت بشه، ویرایش بشه و رسیدن به اون کاری که در واقع هنر هستش و داستان خلاقانه در اومده باشه زمان زیادی رو و فکر کنم در مجموع بیشتر تاکیدشون رو این هستش که AI کمبود اون خلاقیت و نوآوری رو برای نویسنده حد داشته. Thank you, Behzad. If you let me to ask the last question, the audiences can participate more, talk to you. Everything you wish you could say, like Behzad, Nadia, anything you like to add to this webinar or about this topic, which both of you are really interested in fiction, like Behzad is interested in horror fiction, and you have a good knowledge and background. Is there something you feel can be inspiring for new writers, like fictional writers who are here?
The topic that I wanted to talk, it's not about new writers, I believe. Maybe it comes from the audience question, but what I wanted to add to this was the overlap between horror fiction and science fiction, and AI was a really interesting topic. And also body horror. Body horror was a topic that I wanted to have a brief discussion about, and I believe that me and Ahmad was kind of communicating about that. And the body horror is a subgenre of horror about the deformation of the body. As if deformation of the self and identity is horrifying, deformation of the body and physical appearance is also horrifying. However, collusion of the body horror with the science fiction is more terrifying. A very good example is the Crime of the Future new movie by David Cronenberg. David Cronenberg was kind of, tackling this idea so many times in Scanner Darkly and Scanner series that he was making before, and it was a good hit about capacity of the mind and capacity of human to deform the other's mind. However, this Crime of the Future actually addressed the deformation of the body, which is going to be a new topic, a modern topic. I believe that we would face it. It would not be so far from us to have the capacity to actually decorate our body as an aesthetic or decoration thing, not a health issue. So we have been implementing stuff, we have been plastic surgerying ourselves. However, it would be developing much more in a way as adding parts to your body or deforming more radically your body parts as if it is a tattoo or something like that. And that can be horrifying. That can be a topic of horror fiction, which I believe that it's a very, very strong point of overlap between science fiction and horror that would define a new field of horror for horror fiction writers or for science fiction writers. That is one of my interests as well. I wanted to add this point.
I've actually liked.
Sorry, Emma.
I'm doing research.
You can say if you want to say, Emma. You can say. Then finally, I will translate.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Now, I wanted to ask the question about if there's fan fiction in Iran, whether science fiction or horror. And I'm doing research on the same field that Mr. Behzad. That's all I'll say. Sorry.
I would give my feedback to you. I don't have the actual answer, but I would give my perception of that. But let Aran just translate it first and then.
اوکی. خب آقای قدیمی گفتن که من به اون همپوشانی بین ژانر علمی تخیلی و وحشت فکر میکنم و در واقع وحشت تن، حالا نمیدونم ترجمهش چطوری کرده باشم، بادی هارر که یه ساب هارر در واقع تمرکزش روی بدن هستش. به یه سری از آقای دیوید کرامبل اشاره کردن که به نظرشون این خیلی دور نخواهد بود و حتما ما یعنی توی داستان هامون به این قضیه بیشتر خواهیم پرداخت که چطوری بدن رو تزیین میکنیم و این موضوع زیبایی روی بدن، حالا نه تنها سلامتی ولی قضیه زیبایی، تتو و کلا دفرم کردن بدن یه بخشی میشه در واقع از همون ساب کاتگوری، زیر مجموعه همون هارر میتونه باشه و این خیلی ترسناکه که با بدن میشه خیلی در واقع. Is it? I mean, did I say everything, Behzad? I think so.
You covered, yeah.
So, what was Emmad's question? What did Emmad ask? He asked about like fan fiction.
Fan fiction, and science fiction, and fan fiction and horror. Is there that in Iran?
Okay, Behzad, you can say.
Yeah, nobody has researched it, but I remember that when I was young, there has been a huge fan fiction writer around Harry Potter, which is a fantasy novel. Also, I know that there were few kind of successful attempts on the Lord of the Ring novel. I don't really recall any fan fiction around horror fiction, like Dracula or something like that. I don't think that there is a specific fan fiction writing on, let's say, Twilight or Dracula or Frankenstein that has been popular. I didn't hear that. It hasn't come to my path. I know, as I said, I haven't done the research on it. It's just my personal experience. Fan fiction and science fiction, I believe that there were some Frank Herbert novel, some fan fiction around that world building, and also Rama from Arthur C. Clarke. I remember some of my friends when I was young. They have been writing some fan fiction around that kind of world building. It didn't become that popular in Iran. It didn't trigger so many audiences. The one that got to the audience and it became popular was around Harry Potter. I remember that before Rowling published his last novel, there were huge audiences on one of the fan fiction that has been written by a young girl. It became really popular.
Thank you. خب اما در واقع سوالش این بودش که فن فیکشن توی ایران داریم. حالا اگر که درست متوجه شده باشم منظور در واقع همون ژانری رو که طرفدار پیدا میکنه مثل هری پاتر و نویسنده‌ای از جک رولینگ تقلید میکنن یا مثلا لورد آف د رینگز ارباب حلقه ها. آقای قدیمی گفتن که با توجه به اینکه خیلی تحقیقات واقعا گسترده روی این موضوع انجام ندادن میتونن به تجربیات شخصی خودشون اشاره بکنن که به اون صورت فن فیکشن توی ایران طرفدار نداشته و نبوده. حالا دوره‌ای ممکنه یه اتفاقاتی افتاده باشه، مثلا خودشون گفتن در بین دوستانشون کسانی بودن یا مثلا ارباب حلقه ها رو یا در واقع داستان‌های اینجوری موردی رو مثلا دراکولا رو یا توایلایت رو یا فرانکشتاین رو دنبال کرده باشن. خیلی به نظرشون این قضیه چیز محبوبی نبوده توی ایران تا اونجایی که تجربیاتشون یاری میکنه و تحقیق خاصی نکرده. اگه دوست داشته باشین میتونین مشارکت کنیم. یه دقیقه فکر کنم وقت بدیم که دوستان
خب من میتونم در مورد AI نظرم رو بگم و اینکه حالا توی زمینه‌های مختلفی که از AI استفاده کردم خیلی فکرمو مشغول کرد و فکر کردم اتفاقا در مورد نوشتن داستانم بهش فکر کردم. واقعیت اینه که من این چیزی رو که فهمیدم اینه که اگه قرار از AI بخوایم در واقع استفاده کنیم، مهم اینه که ما چطور یعنی میتونیم کاملا اون تنوع رو داشته باشیم، همونقدر متنوع که آدما متنوع هستن از هم دیگه. چون در واقع بازخوردی که از AI میگیریم مهمه. بله شما اگه یه چیزی ازش بخواید بنویسه یا به هر شکلی تولید کنه، احتمال تکراری شدنش خیلی زیاده یا اون حالت تولید مثلا هالیوودی که میگی. اما اگه من قدرت اینو داشته باشم که ازش درست استفاده کنم، خیلی جاها که فرض کنیم من باید مایند مپ کنم، برین استورم کنم تا چقدر زمان ببره تا به نتیجه برسم، اونجا ممکنه که AI خیلی کمک کنه که من راهو پیدا کنم. در واقع یه اسیستنت خوبه دیگه، یه سرعت بالایی به آدم میده. این چیزیه که من برام این روزا خیلی یعنی ذهنمو همش درگیر میکنه و برام میاد. اما واقعا خروجیش مثل خود شخصه، یعنی اگه درست ازش استفاده بشه خروجی ها باز هم همونقدر میتونه منحصر به فرد باشه. یعنی ما با یه دنیای جدیدی داریم مواجه میشیم. حالا دنیایی که باز آدما هر کدوم یه دستیاری دارن به نام AI، بیاین ببینیم حالا دارن چی کار میکنن. یه نظر منه. مرسی از شما که این فرصت رو به من دادید.
خواهش میکنم، ممنونم از شما. Okay, she's speaking and focusing on AI, the effect of AI on her work herself. She says that I believe that it can be so efficient and effective, but the point is that how we cooperate with that. The way we should use AI could be something we should, as Behzad already says, that we mentor that and we can get the feedback and then based on the feedback go on. AI can help me about mind mapping, about brainstorming, and it works like a very good assistant for me. And she believes that it can be extraordinary if the person who is a writer have enough knowledge how to use it efficiently.
I believe that I wanted to maybe add a final topic that has not been covered yet. I was expecting some audiences would have this question, but apparently no one asked it. So, Emma, I want to ask you this question. How do you think would be a writer path in the 21st century as a new writer? How they can make their path through this whole medium? And I would say my own feedback as well on that, but let's hear from you first.
I suppose it's going to be forced on us by the American publishing industry because they're obsessed with that kind of thing. I was teaching once English literature at a school, just briefly, and another teacher who taught English literature said, the elements of literature, plot, characters, and I just, I don't say I yelled at her, but said, it's not a science. If anything's not a science, it's literature. It's an art. It's not a science. Science is as scientific as we think it is. It's actually a very artistic, creative process. And but the Americans, they love that kind of thing. And you go on YouTube and these endless YouTube videos by editors.
Are you implying Brandon Sanderson?
I don't know that. They like to have note cards for everything, and this character has to have this problem, and this is the opposite, and this kind of web of it's just restrictive. And to somebody like me, I'm a guy who makes things up along the way. If you impose rules on me, it just chokes me up. I won't be able to be creative. Other people, they can thrive in that environment. I don't. But I suppose what you could do is just, use it as resume padding. Say, yes, I did use this software and this, and yes, I did take notes using so-and-so and feedback from this AI engine, and just tell them that, when in reality not do it.
خب سوال آقای قدیمی هم این بوده از اماد که فکر میکنی که چه مسیری رو در این قرن اخیر جدید فکر میکنی که چه مسیری رو قرار نویسنده ها طی بکنن. And what was his answer?
Yeah, I believe that we lost some thing. I would
Emad, combination of sorry Emad, for like a few seconds I got disconnected because of some question. So if you can give me again a brief what you said about like a combination of taking notes, like AI things like
what's it called? The American publishing industry is obsessed with writing as a science, and they don't understand creativity and that kind of thing. So what you can do is resume padding. Tell them to use this software and that software and sign up for something and subscribe for something, but really do it yourself. I suppose that AI could be useful when it comes to things like world building and taking notes and to avoid inconsistencies in your world building. I make inconsistencies myself. But even so, correcting a mistake it means innovating a solution. If you have it done beforehand by the machine, telling you to avoid this mistake, you won't find a creative solution. You find these interesting ways to plug a gap. And the story doesn't have to be 100% consistent. It's a story, it's fiction, it's not real. You just have to get the point across and make people feel good and relate to it in a way, personally.
خب امادم معتقد هستش که در واقع آمریکایی‌ها خیلی میخوان که اصلا داستان به صورت ساینس در بیاد، یعنی این مسیری که علم داره طی میکنه، ولی اون چیزی که داستان و فیکشن میکنه، اون قسمتی که اتفاقا کرکت نشده هستش و اون قسمتی که متفاوت از علم، در واقع همون اشتباهاتی که میتونه تکرار بشه که اینو هر ماشینی هر موقع میتونه برای ما درست کنه، ولی راه حل‌های خلاقانه اینه که ما چیکار میکنیم در واقع با اون موضوعات. خانم کاظمی یه سوال پرسیده بودن، اینکه okay. Emad, Zoha asked you, what is the name of your book which is translated into Persian?
Lambs of the Desert and Other Stories. It's going to be published. It's going to be translated. Still hasn't been.
Lambs of the Desert? Okay. خانم کاظمی، گویا کتابشون هنوز چاپ نشده، قراره که در واقع چاپ بشه و فکر می‌کنم به اسم Lambs of the Desert. حالا حتما سعی می‌کنیم که اسمشو ازشون بخوایم بنویسیم و بهتون بگیم.
I believe that I would just give the feedback to my own question as well. As Ahmad said, I believe that a new writer should know the concept of AI and its contribution to writing. They should know it. They should know how to use it. What would be its capacity? They should know that. On the structural writer or the school of American school of fiction writing and teaching it as a science, Ahmad, I agree with you to some degree. However, I would think that at this stage in this new world, as a writer, you need to know those tricks. You need to know how they would think about it. You need to know the cliche before you are able to break the cliche. So what I would think is that although following the procedure that is taught to you, like having this plot and don't forget about your character building, your world building, and be consistent, that wouldn't make you a good writer without any doubt. There is no guaranteed way of writing well-written fiction. However, knowing those is really essential before you can be creative. I believe that although it cannot directly lead to a good writing, if you follow the procedure that is taught in workshops and schools and university, you cannot directly follow the procedure and write a good novel or good story. That is not guaranteed. However, knowing those tricks, knowing those procedures would help you to come with your own creativity and innovation in a better way. So I'm a kind of a bit dubious to just reject them as a whole. I would think that it is beneficial to know those tricks and those procedures. However, I agree with you that relying on them as a science, as a well-defined boundary for a well-written fiction is not a true thing, is not a correct way to write.
خب آقای قدیمی باز توی بندی همین قضیه که نویسنده جدید قرار چه اتفاقی براشون بیفته معتقدن که حتما AI در ابزاری هستش که نویسنده ها باید بهش مسلط باشن و بتونن ازش استفاده کنن، هرچند که با اون معایبش هم موافق هستن، ولی به هر حال یعنی اجتناب ناپذیره و این بخشی از زندگی نویسنده خواهد بود. خب عماد گفتن که با یه صحنه خیلی روزمره شروع میکنن که توی خیابون با یه چیزی مواجه شدن و نوشتن داستان مثل فیلم میبونه، مثل همون شادوینگ توی فیلم میبونه. یه صحنه اون صحنه و میری به اون ایده فکر میکنی و بعد توی ذهنت هستش، وارد لایه‌های ناخودآگاه و در واقع اون اصلا میتونه شروع یه داستان باشه. نان فیکشن نوشتن هم نوشتن متون غیر تخیلی هم میتونه فان خودشو، میتونه در واقع جذابیت خودشو داشته باشه، ولی بدون شک برای نوشتن داستان حتما این اتفاق میفته. یعنی تو دوباره یه اتفاقاتی توی ناخودآگاهت میفته که اون صحنه و اون ایده ها رو باز تولید کنی. How do you usually find, I mean, like your how do you find what should you write about that, and how do you start? What is your style about writing?
Is it for me?
Mr. Behzad?
Yes, Behzad.
Okay.
Yes,
Behzad. For me, usually it starts with a painful thought or painful problem that I couldn't solve or I couldn't comprehend completely. It might be a scene, it might be a question, it might be an experience, personal experience, or a social experience that I have. It has come to my past. So it's usually a painful or troublesome experience that would leave in me like a trauma or something like that, that engage my mind for a period of time. I would usually let the idea to grow inside my mind for at least a couple of weeks and see if it is really engaging my mind. I cannot solve it. And then after that, I would try to make a story around that problem, giving it a plot, giving it some world building, adding some character, and kind of exploring around that problem that I couldn't solve it. That's how I usually start writing it and developing the story.
نوشتن داستان برای بهزاد قدیمی اینطوری هستش که همیشه از یه تم دردناک، چیزی که آزارش داده و ناراحتش کرده شروع میشه. در مورد اون مسئله فکر میکنه، مثل یه تروما، چیزی که باهاش حالا ممکنه توی تجربه زندگی شخصیش بوده باشه، ممکنه که توی زندگی اجتماعی بوده باشه، یه چیزی که براش دردآور بوده ولی دوست داره که راجبش فکر کنه و براش راه حل پیدا کنه. سعی میکنه که به اون موضوع فکر کنه، بعد پیرامون اون موضوع و راه حلی که داره بهش فکر میکنه بعد براش یه صحنه میچینه، یه سری کاراکترها واردش میکنه ولی به صورت کلی در واقع اون تروما و ناراحتی که باعث میشه که اولین صحنه‌های داستانش رو پیدا کنه. Okay. So if I ask you as a writer, what is like the main part of you that you think it motivates you and it helps you to be a writer which can find your way in this path, what it is? I mean, I know there are lots of people who really like to write in this field and maybe they sometimes what are the main elements that you think as a writer in this genre we need to? Is it like about reading a lot? Is it about writing a lot? Is it about thinking a lot, traveling? What is your own experience? Maybe this time, Behzad, you can start.
What motivates me? That was the question.
If I ask you, I mean, based on this main point, you could like build your character to be a like sci-fi writer or like a fiction writer or horror. Is it because you are a hardworking person? Is it because you are an organized person? Because it comes from the engineering mind?
I believe that I really like to create something. Even in engineering field, I want to create stuff. And specifically, I want to create beautiful stuff. I want to create new aesthetic aspect, new beautiful object or beautiful concept. That is what I'm really passionate about, and I'm kind of under its charm, to create something beautiful. That's kind of a need for me. It has been through my whole life. Even when I was doing engineering design, part of my mind was engaged with the creativity of something that is complex and it's beautiful and it smoothly work. That is what incarnate in the fiction writing quite truly. So that is part of my mind that is absorbed and attracted towards creation of something beautiful and complex in a conceptual level.
خب آقای قدیمی میگن که من فکر کنم چیزی که در واقع موتور نوشتن من هستش این که به خلق زیبایی ها علاقه دارم، جنبه های زیباشناسانه رو ایجاد و خلق کنم. این چیزی که در موردش خیلی احساس قوی دارم. حتی زمانی که کار مهندسی میکنم اون ها و زیبایی ها رو بتونم با هم دیگه داشته باشم. چیزی که توی نوشتن خیلی جذبم میکنه اینی که بتونم اون در واقع فضای خلاقانه رو که همراه با زیباشناسی هستش رو خلق کنم. Emad, how about you?
Well, I'll give an example. I tried writing some short stories once that were not science fiction, and I had a terrible time. And even when I was a kid reading, I mainly read science fiction. I find regular, normal fiction, social reality fiction to be boring. Not always, but most of the time. And I mean, I think basically my problem is that I don't know how to live in the real world. I don't like the real world, and I don't want to live in it. It doesn't work. Ridiculous things like traffic jams and the internet crashing, and paperwork to fill out, and tax forms, and banks, and these things just, they don't make any sense. They're completely irrational. So I can create my own world where things actually do work, where they're supposed to do their job. And science fiction is always one step ahead. And I'll give you an example. The movie The Running Man, one of the scenes I love in it is when Arnold is using the travel pass of the woman to book a flight for Hawaii. And it's so easy. It's like using a game console from back in the 1980s. Nowadays, it's just really complicated, and you have to find out about it here, and they can only give you a printout. They can't give you a proper copy, a proper so-and-so this, and you have to get it on the inside. You can't get it from the actual travel agency. And it's all these complexities and these bureaucratic complexities that take a technology that should be easy and make it complicated and make it expensive, very expensive. So, I mean, I would rather stay in the fictional world. Things actually work. That's my refuge and my source of inspiration.
Okay. خب امادم میگن که در واقع علت اصلی که فیکشن می‌نویسن و سای فای فیکشن که دوست دارم که توی واقعیت نباشم. واقعیت هیچ چیز جالبی نداره. من اصلا واقعیت رو دوست ندارم. کاغذبازی و کارهای بانک و مالیات و هر چیزی که توی واقعیت هست میتونه خیلی عذاب دهنده باشه. بعد به فیلم مرد دونده اشاره کردن و اینکه گفتن که به نظر می اومد که این تکنولوژی قرار زندگی آدم‌ها رو آسان‌تر، راحت‌تر کنه، ولی کارهای بوروکراتیک بیشتر شده و تکنولوژی سخت‌تر و گران‌ترش کرده. و واقعا من به این جهان فانتزی به خاطر فراگیریت که پناه میبرم. Thank you. I think, Emma, once I was like interested in your article. You talk about green literature, which was like a kind of new idea. Can you tell us more about green literature? What is green literature in science fiction?
Environmentally friendly science fiction. I mean, that deals with ecological problems and renewable and alternative energy and clean energy, and solving pollution problems. But I mean, again, there's Middle Eastern stuff by Iranian and Arabic authors in particular is different than the Western stuff, different even than what I write, because they're concerned with avoiding those problems to begin with through your value system, and through your lifestyle, and through your societal values and family life. I think in a too technological and policy way. There's a problem, how do we solve it? You should avoid that problem to begin with.
Thank you. یه واژه توی یکی از مقاله‌هاشون استفاده کرده بودن به اسم گرین لیتریچر، ادبیات سبز، که ازشون سوال کردم که این گرین لیتریچر از نظر شما چی هستش و گفتن همون انرژی‌های پاک و در واقع مشکلاتی که برای آلودگی وجود داره شما توی ادبیات داشته باشیم. اون چیزی که جهان غرب و اونجا راجع به این مسائل داره مسلما میتونه متفاوت چیزی که ما تجربهش میکنیم توی میدل ایست و در واقع راه حل‌های خودمون رو توی جهان برای اون green literature پیدا کنیم. Behzad, do you have any idea about that? Like it's backs to, for example, solar energy, I think, like green power, clean energy.
As Ahmad said, I believe that when you come in Middle Eastern geography and you want to talk about green industry and climate change and stuff like that, it is more like an alert, like avoiding fiction, talking about how stop the bad thing to be happening, like pollution, or we have like lakes that are being dried, like Urumia lakes and stuff like that. You are writing about what we can do to stop them instead of going towards, let's say, solar energy or wind turbine and stuff like that, being fascinated about implementation of the new technology to make the life easier and cleaner. When it comes to Middle Eastern, specifically Iran geography, writer would think about disaster that could happen if you don't implement those technology, and that would be the main theme of writing.
خب آقای قدیمی هم به نظر ایشون هم یه ذره متفاوته. اون چیزی که ما با من توی جهان غرب ازش یاد میکنیم با اون چیزی که توی خاورمیانه میتونه وجود داشته باشه، از تغییرات آب و هوایی و در واقع ما اینجا داریم فکر میکنیم که چیکاری اگر از تکنولوژی استفاده نکنیم میتونه باعث بدبختی و بیچارگیمون بشه، ولی اونجا ممکنه دنبال دیگه تکنولوژی باشیم. خیلی به نظر استفاده از این گرین توی این جغرافیای متفاوتی مثل ایران خیلی میتونه متفاوت از غرب باشه. Behzad, thank you, Emad. We really enjoyed talking to you, and I am sure like this is a new start of a great journey, which like the result will be emerge in future. خیلی ممنون از تمامش.
Thank you very much and your efforts.
Sorry for some lag and some disconnection.
No, that's kind of natural.
از تک تک شرکت دوستان عزیزی که نویسنده هستند خیلی ممنونیم که تشریف آوردی. امیدوارم که جلسات بعدی هم باز شما رو ببینیم. از موسسه اوسان هم برای اینکه فرصت رو فراهم کردن که ما بتونیم دور هم باشیم و در مورد ژانر علمی تخیلی صحبت کنیم خیلی متشکرم. داشته باشید برای همگی.